There's a war raging on right now between fans of the Mass Effect series and BioWare over BioWare's decision to remove multiple scenes showing Miranda's ass from their upcoming special edition of the Mass Effect trilogy. Now, the Mass Effect series is known for two things: having an incredible story with an incredibly shitty ending, and Miranda's meticulously sculpted cheeks. So to take away one of the core components of the game has made a lot of people very upset. And upset is an understatement. There are some people that are just genuinely outraged, melting down on Twitter, making it sound like it's ruined their entire lives, flipping over their desks, lighting churches on fire. It's chaos. 50 years from now, your grandchildren will ask you, "Pop, Pop, where were you when BioWare took away the ass?" And you'll have to look them right in their eyes, right to the windows of their soul, and tell them, "Son, I fought on the side of justice on Twitter, lobbying to bring the ass back to its former glory." And then you'll pump your fist in the air, trying to stand up to BioWare over the censorship here. To be honest, I don't know why BioWare is even called BioWare anymore. I think they just completely need to rename their company because they're not BioWare. The only person that still works at BioWare from the glory days is probably like the janitor and nobody else. It is a completely new staff and they have not really done anything very impressive over the last decade or so. So I'm not a big BioWare fan and I haven't been for a long time. And this decision to me seems incredibly trivial on their part, and the outrage also seems extremely overblown. Now, just in case you've forgotten the famous shots from Mass Effect, here's one right here. I'm sure your boners haven't forgotten, but just giving you a little something here to jog your hog memory. So it's when you're in the middle of a cutscene or talking to Miranda, sometimes the camera is just glued right to her fucking butthole. And her ass, it looks like two airbags for her asshole. It is just really right up in your face, and oftentimes this will happen during a serious moment, and then you totally just blank on everything that's going on dialogue-wise, and it becomes more of just like a goofy moment as opposed to a serious one, because the camera is just drawn like a magnet right up into her colon and just puts you right up in there as if you're trying to like fish for hemorrhoids with your mouth out of her butthole. So this is the stuff that's going to be cut from the special edition, at least to my understanding. They're not like deflating her ass or like nerfing it or anything. It's just taking these scenes out. But I don't really understand why. Now, there's not a ton of scenes like this. Like, there's a few. There's a good handful, actually, from my memory. And maybe I'm exaggerating and confusing wet dreams with what was actually in the game. But I do remember quite a few like this. But what's the point in taking them out? It doesn't make a huge difference either way. It's not like it changes the Mass Effect universe or the lore is different now. Oh, all of a sudden the Reapers just go back to the void because they can't get a close-up like a microscope of Miranda's ass. Like, it doesn't make a big difference. What is the point in taking the shots out? It's just such a mundane change. It's not like the shots were obscene or disrespectful or anything like that. It just really seems like it came out of nowhere. Though I think there are some instances where they probably needed to move the camera. For example, this shot right here. This is supposed to be where Miranda's talking about her family and getting them out of harm's way. And the camera is again just glued to her kind of hunched over a table to really showcase all 10,000 hours they put into designing the perfect ass. So yeah, if they wanted to improve the seriousness of this situation here in the lore, they'd probably want to reposition the camera, like maybe to her camel toe or something. But since it's not like that in the original trilogy, it's not like they had to change it in the special edition, because it's only like a couple of seconds. It's not like it's there for that long. And there's people like this tweet I just showed that are just really blowing it way out of proportion. Like, the game is truly ruined because now I can't stare into Miranda's asshole like I'm being hypnotized. But again, just to bring it on back home, making the change was silly in the first place. I don't know why they'd even bother changing that. If they were going to go back and change some of the trilogy, why not improve the things that were actually wrong with it as opposed to some of the goofy things like the ass shots? If they wanted to, not only upgrade it, but also make it better, why not address some of the core problems with the trilogy? It seems like targeting the ass shots was a really weird one to put in the crosshairs. So I think the change was dumb, but I also think the people that are acting like their world just came crashing down around them because they can't look at Miranda's ass as much is also dumb. You can be disappointed with the change, I know I am, because I don't see the point in making such a trivial change. I say keep the trilogy intact the way it was and just upgrade it like I thought they were going to. You can absolutely be disappointed by it, but the game, the trilogy, it isn't ruined by moving the camera angle on some of the scenes. That doesn't completely destroy everything that Mass Effect once was. That was done by Mass Effect 3's ending. That did a beautiful job of completely ruining the trilogy in and of its own merit. So the ass changes are trivial. They truly are. It's a really shit decision from a fucking terrible company, but it also doesn't absolutely decimate the trilogy. And I don't know why people are pretending like it does. And of course I see a lot of people talking about censorship, and in this case I totally agree. This is BioWare censoring themselves. They made a game back in the day, and now they don't like certain elements of it, so they have censored it for a modern release. And I don't agree with that. As I've always said, I hate censorship in all of its forms, and as I've said multiple times now, I think the change is entirely unnecessary. Though I disagree that it's a slippery slope since BioWare has nothing these days. It's not like they're going to be censoring anything else because this is the last franchise they ever made that was good. I read a lot of people talking about how slippery of a slope it is. They've started with taking away our ass. What will BioWare take away next? And the answer is nothing, because they have nothing else. This is literally the last set of games they made that was good. They haven't made something enjoyable in the last decade or so. So after this, it's pretty much all they've got in the hole here. At least it's not a genuine game changer. The core games are still intact from everything I've read. It's just these very questionable, trivial changes they made to censor themselves because they didn't like what they did back then or something. So it's disappointing to see them do that, but at least the games aren't completely changed now. So again, I am upset about it. I don't like that they did it, but I also don't understand why people are making it sound like everything is completely fucking ruined now because the games don't have as much ass shots in them. I think that's very silly and pathetic to have that perspective, but being disappointed, I totally understand because I'm right there with you. But yeah, anyway, that about wraps it up. Rest in peace to Miranda's dump truck. At least that appears to be the only change they made, so at least the games will still be pretty much what I remembered them to be, and I'm a huge Mass Effect fan. Even despite the fucking atrocious ending of Mass Effect 3, I still can't help but love the trilogy, even though that did take a massive shit on like the overall enjoyment of the narrative as a whole. But anyway, yeah, that's about it. See ya.